This is Luca here from Nextcast, coming back at you with another video. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, do all the good stuff. As today, I'll be recapping the Knicks win over the Charlotte Hornets. Now, not a lot of emphasis will be placed on the starting lineup, as this was mostly about the bench. The starters got limited minutes in this 111-109 Knicks victory. Mikal Bridges got 13 minutes, OG Anunoby got 14 minutes, and Karl Anthony Towns, the newest Knick, Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart all shared 15 minutes. So most again, as I said, this was only mainly about the bench and the starters getting some sort of cohesion, playing together. Obviously, it's been 1 week since training camp started, so there's not a lot of time to practice before the first preseason game. It's kind of a quick ramp up for these teams. So looking at the starting lineup, first of all, the highest scorer was Jalen Brunson, 5 of 11 from the field, 2 of 4 from downtown. Most of these players were -7, but you really can't take much out of that. It is preseason. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby with 4 points apiece. Karl Anthony Towns with 10 points on 1 of 5 from 3 and 2 for 7 from the field. He also got to the free throw line aplenty, 5 or 6 from there. He also cashed in on 4 rebounds and 2 steals, did a nice defensive job. And Josh Hart also is in there, but 0 points for him, as I'll be breaking down that as well. And one of the things that I liked about the Knicks, I'd say most off with the offense, there's a ton of ball movement, and they were playing at a very quick pace, and there wasn't so much ISO ball now. Obviously, that can change in the regular season, but it doesn't really fit the Knicks style of play, because you have guys like Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby who could move off ball. Same thing with Karl Anthony Towns as well. But what I liked specifically about this ball movement is it was Karl Anthony Towns mainly being used as a hub for the passes, whether it was handoffs, ball screens, and all that. And if you notice, Towns was somewhat of an underrated passer in Minnesota. I think he got a lot of flack for his decision-making, especially driving down into the lane, lack of body control, as they say, with tunnel vision as well. But Towns looked in control tonight. It looked like he was passing with a little bit of rhythm. Now, I don't believe he had many assists, but that's really not the point. It seemed he looked comfortable as a hub, as I said, making those screens and all that. And what the Knicks are trying to replace essentially is Julius Randle and Isaiah Hartenstein's passing a little bit. Towns is an all-worldly offensive player, but adding him as a secondary playmaker alongside Jalen Brunson is just going to bring this offense to another level. So I thought Towns was comfortable tonight. Obviously, the efficiency wasn't there, but it is preseason, so you're not really going to judge. And you look at the spacing as well. I thought there were times where Jalen Brunson got free reign in the paint, where the driving lanes were open, where he had availability to possibly kick out to an open shooter. And I believe this one play where Brunson was driving off of the left wing, he stopped with 2 defenders behind him. He took about a second or two, hesitated, and finally passed out to Towns. Towns ended up missing the 3, but it was good to see that Brunson was recognizing those opportunities for those pick and pops, which will be available during the regular season. So, again, it's a matter of teammates getting used to each other and all that, but also the Knicks had a rebounding advantage with Karl Anthony Towns on the boards. He actually, I think, averaged 12 rebounds a game or close to that with Tom Thibodeau as head coach when he was back playing center in 2017, 2018, and those days. But another thing about the spacing a little bit is more of my concern, not so much my concern, but obviously there's a little bit of a competition going on between Deuce McBride and Josh Hart to get the starter minutes. Now, we know Tom Thibodeau loves Josh Hart, plays him plenty of minutes. I think there was a few times last year in the postseason where Josh Hart ended up playing full games. But I believe, in my opinion, that Deuce McBride is key to unlocking the offense as a whole. I'm not saying he's going to be this all-worldly all-star, but I think he is very important from a spacing aspect, and he can do a little bit of shooting off the dribble. He can also cut. Not saying that Josh Hart can cut, but Josh Hart has a limited 3-ball as is. Sometimes he'll get hot. Sometimes he'll get cold, where the defense will leave him open and will clog the paint, because Hart is mainly of a transition threat, driving into the paint and kicking out to open shooters, also a cutter as well. But overall, I think the ceiling, I'm not going to say the ceiling is limited with Josh Hart as a starter, but he's more fit with a bench guy for energy purposes. He could run the 2, the 3, or the 4 with, let's say, Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby off the bench leading that second unit, whoever with Deuce and whoever. So, obviously, in my opinion, now, this is a matter of starting laps. Obviously, it's the preseason. There's a battle. Battles are going to happen. Tom Thibodeau is going to mix up the rotation. So, overall, Josh Hart was not really impactable. But, again, you're not really expecting impact in the preseason. But I would like to see, and I think most Knicks fans would like to see, Josh Hart be off the bench and have Deuce be that shooting guard in starting shooting guard. Some people say he's more of a sixth man, but I think to lift this team's ceiling offensively and defensively as well, I think Deuce is key to unlocking your ceiling and being one of the better teams in the league. And Josh Hart is better as an energy guy. So moving on to some of the other takeaways as well. You had the bench. I have my biggest stars from the bench in a little bit. But looking at some of the other things that I noticed from the Knicks overall, Deuce's confidence, we'll get to him in a second. The Knicks forced plenty of turnovers tonight. Just to look at the numbers here, the Knicks forced a total of 20 turnovers. They were pretty handsy with the ball. Karl-Anthony Towns had 2 steals. Landry Shamet had a couple of steals. He had a nice game. So the Knicks were definitely making worth of Charlotte's sloppy play a little bit. It was basically an up and down game, but the Knicks were definitely taking their opportunities. And as well, this is going to be an in-progress thing, a work in progress for the Knicks, and that was their transition defense was a little bit iffy. Trey Mann had some walk-in threes. LaMelo Ball had some walk-in threes off of transition. So I think that's going to be a work in progress, and that is a hard thing to cover in the NBA, the transition defense. Obviously, it's more about effort, but it's getting back to guys and finding the correct assignments and finding a body. So, as I said, I would get to the biggest stars of the game now. This is obviously, you're not looking for a 40-point game in these preseason games, but you're looking guys who would stand out. Now, the Knicks lost some depth with Dante DiVincenzo being traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. So you're looking for guys effectively to step up, and not to mention also as well that Mitchell Robinson will be out till December, with obviously Karl-Anthony Towns being the team's starting center. So you're looking for somebody to really shine at that backup center spot. Jericho Sims got some minutes. Precious Achiuwa had a very nice game. We'll get to him in a second. But to start off with somebody who really improved his offensive game last year, and that was Deuce McBride. His confidence offensively is high as ever. He's not hesitant as he wasn't last season. Just to look at some of his stats as well, he was a -2 on the court, not a big deal. 4 of 9 from 3 and 8 of 18 from the field. He was constantly hitting that mid-range jumper, that pull-up mid-range jumper. He was also hitting that 3 ball, whether it's off the catch or off the dribble, more so off the catch. And Deuce, whether he starts or not, he's going to make an impact, and I think he's due for another leap this season as Tom Thibodeau really found that confidence in him. As Deuce, continues to find that consistent confidence, and he's shooting the ball like hell, he's going to be a really good asset to this team. And I know that the Knicks, per Chris Persianen of Knicks Film School, was saying that the Knicks were interested in a trade for Marcus Smart. I would not do it. I think you have a homegrown guy in Deuce McBride who's just as good defensively, or has the potential to be just as good defensively, but even better as an offensive player. So Deuce McBride, he's really trying hard for that shooting guard spot, whether it's in the starting lineup or even a sixth man. So I definitely think it's worth it to mention Deuce McBride had a phenomenal game. I think he's going to continue to get better for the regular season. So another guy who the Knicks are absolutely trying out right now in terms of the bench unit is Landry Shamet. Now, the Knicks signed him to an Exhibit 9 contract, which is essentially a training camp tryout. But I think most Knicks fans, like myself, have basically locked in his role as a rotation player for the Knicks this upcoming season. He had a phenomenal game. His three-point ability showed well, 6-11 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 16 points off the bench, and +8 within 27 minutes. And the thing about Shamet is, he's been a shooter. He's obviously been known as more of a 3-and-D guard over the years. He's played with Washington. He's played with the Brooklyn Nets. He's played with the Sixers. He's played with the LA Clippers. He's played with the Phoenix Suns, with Mikal Bridges and campaign. And he was so impressive today. He also had 2 steals. It's worth it. He's impressive as an on-ball shooter who's more off the catch. He's impressive as an off-ball shooter who can get to his spots. He's also impressive. I think he had 2 steals more so just focusing. He has an eye for the ball, whether it's on offense, whether on defense. I believe whether it was Trey Mann or LaMelo Ball was driving down the lane, he went for a kick out, and right there was Landry Shamet as he ran down and just stole the pass. So he's thinking about 2 plays ahead, which was really smart of him defensively. And Shamet will be an asset defensively for the Knicks. And I was just really impressed to see him shoot as well as he did, defend well as he did. And for somebody who's playing on an Exhibit 9 contract, I expect that to be a full one-way contract with the Knicks this season. He'll definitely get some rotation minutes. And Tom Thibodeau has also raised some praise during the training camp. So another guy that is in the rotation, or possibly could be in the rotation, I don't see him being in the rotation as yet, is rookie Tyler Kolek, who the Knicks drafted in the second round. Now, he's more known as a passer and a shooter, but I also liked his play defensively tonight. So just to look at the basic stats, 3 of 5 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 11 points, a +9 on the box score, and he played in only 14 minutes. Now, I was surprised that he didn't really play much in the first half, but he was included in the third quarter, and he certainly made his impact. I liked his passing. I liked his good defensive skills. Now, he was never the greatest defender. I believe was over at Marquette. But regardless, Kolek he looked very stable defensively. His footwork was clean. He was getting his 2 steals. And as well, you expect Kolek to obviously somewhat have a role this season. He's in competition with Campaign to be that somewhat backup point guard spot if Deuce McBride will be playing off the ball. And we all know that Tom Thibodeau is very tight with the rookies. He has very high expectations. He's very much humbling. He wants them to be very humbled. He's very much leans on the veterans. But I have a real feeling that Tyler Kolek is going to have an impact on the Knicks this season, whether it's from an offensive standpoint, from his three-point shooting, or his passing. But Kolek, I think, is a impact player. We'll obviously see the next few games in terms of the preseason, whether he can be on the team in terms of a guy who can come off the bench immediately, or will he have to wait a little bit to get the playing time that he really deserves. So I did like what I saw from Tyler Kolek, but at the end of the day, he's got 3 more games to prove it, and he's only continued his progress from the Summer League. So the last guy I want to hit on is Precious Achiuwa, who the Knicks signed obviously in the offseason, re-signed him to a 1-year deal to fill that backup center spot. And I think he had a nice game, very nice game out of the bigs. Jericho Sims, I really didn't find that impressive, but Achiuwa, he made his money off the glass. He had 5 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities were there. He was also 6 and 9 on the field from the field. Did a nice job as a screener. He worked really well with Tyler Kolek. He also shot 1 of 2 from 3, actually hitting a 3-pointer off the left wing and off the glass. 15 points, 2 steals, 1 block, +9 on the box score. But Achiuwa is going to be a huge piece to the Knicks this season, obviously with the injury to Mitchell Robinson, and the Knicks never really finding a true backup. Now, what makes Achiuwa so impressive, obviously he played a lot of the minutes with Jericho Sims at the 5, is Achiuwa's switchability defensively. I thought that was really key tonight. Achiuwa is very big on the boards, and his versatility defensively makes him better as a 4 almost, but more impressively, he could play as a 5, and that's better for the offense. So at the end of the day, obviously the Knicks were trying some different lineups with Achiuwa at the 4, Achiuwa at the 5. I personally think he's a better fit at the 5, with the offense being a little more spaced out, as you would have 2 non-shooting bigs if you put him at the 4 with either Mitchell Robinson or Jericho Sims at the 5. But Achiuwa had a very nice game. Unfortunately, he did get into late foul trouble. I believe he fouled Dwayne Washington on a 3-point attempt, which nearly lost the Knicks the game, but Dwayne Washington actually missed all free throws. He obviously tried to get the free throw back in terms of getting the ricochet to try to put up a game-winning shot for the team, but the Knicks got the ball back on that ricochet off the rim, and the Knicks ended up winning the game, obviously. But you like what you see from Precious Achiuwa. It's earlier in the preseason, but you want to see him develop into more of a rotational guy, obviously, and you don't want him to just be a spotty minutes guy. He's going to have to grow, and I think he will grow with Tom Thibodeau, who is very much so into developing bigs, and also that the Knicks brought in Mark Bryant, who's very much so in his expertise of developing big men. So I went over my notes for this game, basically went into the bench. Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Tyler Kolek, and Precious Achiuwa are my standouts. Campaign on a minor note, I thought he did okay. He was more of your hot and cold shooter, but he made some nice passes. It's going to be a battle for him and Tyler Kolek for that backup point guard spot. Again, Tibbs leans heavily on the vets. Jericho Sims, I really didn't find impressive. He was just kind of there. Also, Chuma Okeke had some minutes. Nothing but his defense. Other than that, I really noticed. But overall, the Knicks get a win here. Obviously, the focus of this preseason is to get everyone out healthy and figure out the rotation spots. Precious Achiuwa, backup point guard spot. Obviously, you have Deuce McBride, whether he's going to be the starting shooting guard or coming off the bench as the 6th man, and some other spots between the vets. So if you guys haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe as well, turn on the notification bell so you can see when I go live or I put out a new video. Regardless of that, folks, I will talk to you guys later. Stay with the channel for more content.